Alright, switch operation mechanism type. Switches shall also be operated with the approved type of the mechanism manual of the power operative mechanism in accordance with the specification of the signal interlocking systems. C234, hand operated mechanism commonly called switch stands, a mechanism contained with one unit which throws the switch rail that also prevents locking in normal reverse position both and herein referred to the locking switch stand approved in type US and S style 220. A mechanism which throws the switch rail with a herein they're referred to as the switch stand is approved the type that's shown in standard plan 73900. Mechanism with a throw and switch rails that are supplemented to approve the type of the slow action spring mechanism used only on the location approved with the regional manager, chief engineer, 2 type. The end track of the other yards of the mechanism that approve the type of the throw with the switch rails but also provided with locking them in position for which the switch is normally set together with a central circuit controller provision protected with the signal aspects to rule 292, 291, 285A, 296 electrical switch lamps approved type and according with the specifications of signal interlocking system CE 234 and SS marker in accordance with the standard signal plan of the S545 must also be displayed with each of the spring switch. 2. In the yard track switch stand standard plan of the 73900 which flows the switch rails does not include the 73900 include the electrical switch lamp signals and switch point indicator. Switches for use in slow action spring switch mechanism shown in standard plan 73150. Where slow action spring switch mechanisms are in service of the permissible speed show as be as follow. Alright. Facing trailing spring switch, trailing springing switch throw, turnout, trailing switch throughout the main track. 30 miles an hour and for the Alright, locking switch stands in use. Locking switch stands shall be used with a circuit controller main track, the automatic block territory, manual block territory switch protected by signals aspects rule 292, 285A, and 296. Without circuit control in the main track, the manual block territory only with local conditions warrant mechanical switch locking when approved with the regional manager and chief engineer. Switch stands without the locking feature shall be used with operating all switches except for the locking switch stands that are required with the warranted line in chapter 1202. 1204. With the throws over the switch chain with the non-interlocked main and secondary track switches shall be interlocked with the standard switch padlock and the 2 latches of the padlock of the fastened by the chain with the 2 which the switch stand are tied is so that the switch can be located with the normal position as follows. Which is provided with where the switch is provided with the separate facing point lock and operated with the throw lever with the switch stand, the padlock shall be placed with the locking face point and the locking lever only. When the switch is provided with the locking switch stand, the padlock shall be placed on the locking throw lever. The throw lever of the switch stand other than the main secondary tracks shall be provided with the latches shall be provided with the padlocks only when the authorizing superintendent in transportation. Alright, position indication switches. In order to give the clear, distinct indication of the position switch points with the non-interlocked with the colored target lamp and colored enamel disc or reflectorized tape and targets standard 73915 in lieu of the lamp's location approved with the regional manager shall provide additional to the switch stand except in the case that it has been decided the indication is not sufficient importance and possibility in the yard's tabulation follows day and night indications. Note that regulations issued with the public authority require the use of lamps under certain circumstances must be complied with. Switch point indicated with the target lamp, the reflectorized targets shall be in 3 types according with the height and the mass of the above the track ties is measured to the center of the target colored and enamel disc, low not exceeding 20 inches, intermediate 7 foot 8, 3 inches, and high 17 foot. Types of indicators to be used. Indicators shall be used with the non-interlocked switch according with the following guiding rails, the opening, the height of the indicator, desirable different location turnouts. Usable low type of the lamp, the colored enamel disc, reflectorized tape, the switch of the main track, automatic signal territory, the main track switches are normally trailing switches and known automatic signal territory switches are protected with the signal aspects of rule 292, 285, and 296. Switch requiring inter-track location with the indicator with the tracks are spacing less than 19 feet center when the branch track switches where the speed of the trains is slow with all the siding of the track switches are not included. Use of low type target with no lamp reflectorized tape on switches where only with the day indication necessary. If the target is used on a low switch signal stand shown in obsolete plan 54642, sleeve adapter shown on plan 69512 must be used. The intermediate type of the target lamp of the reflectorized target on no colorized disc. And no automatic signal territory at facing point switch with efficient visibility not afforded by low type where the high type is not warranted to use the high type of the target lamps with the reflectorized tape but no colored disc. No automatic signal territory at the facing point of the switch where the sufficient visibility is not afforded with the intermediate type. Switch stands for use. Hand-operated switches shall be placed so that at the main track of the switch at the siding end of the crossover between the main track siding with the operating with the rod must be set in tension with the switch at the set normal position. Crossover that shall be with the switch stand with the each switch. The crossover switch with the protector with the signal arrangement locking shall be provided between the main track and the accordance with the standard signal plan S228 between the main track and the siding in accordance with the standard signal plan S228 with the cover switch plan. Cover switch between the main track and between the main track sidings are not protected with the signal when approved with the regional manager chief engineer mechanical switch locking shall be provided in accordance with standard signal S28 228. Switch stands are for all over the track shall be located to severe safety convenience of the employees in the best way. Where practical warranted with the switch throw route of the lock route and the running with the shall be covered with the trunk having the top surface level at the ballast ground with the safeguarding with the employee. Location of the switch point indicator. The switch point indicator shall be placed so that the color targets for the lamp, the colored enamel disc shall be placed, if possible, be on the right hand side of the switches in all tracks. Reviewed as the facing point of the approaching train. The target of the lamp shall be at sight of the right angle of the track, will be perpendicular with the head of the ties. When the switch is normal facing with the main track of the upward point of the inclined blade, when targeted as used, the shall be away from the track. The indicator must be placed on the low switch with the lamp stands with the connection to the switch point in accordance with the standard plan 73910. Electric switch lamps connected with the spring switch indicate green when switch point green is when switch point is closed or locked, and red is when switch path is unlocked or open. Distant from the rail and switch stands with the switch point indicator. Switch stands with or without switch point indicators carrying with the switch point indicators must be placed, and so the distance from the gauge of the nearest rail center of the spindle must be shall be within low mass located between the tracks with the center of the distance 12 and 2 feet and more than less than 13 inches of the foot and 0 inches, a minimum of 3 and 8 and 3/4 of an inch. 13 feet more than less than 14 feet, a minimum of 4 foot 1 3/4 of an inch. 14 feet more than less than 17 feet, minimum 4 foot 7 3/4 inches. 17 feet is 0 inches or more, minimum of 7 feet 0 inches for all stands. The low, intermediate with a high mass when not between the tracks, minimum of 7 feet of inches. In case of the two switches are close together with a switch point indicator, then the same with the height will not be visible but separately from the engine of the cab. One marker should be located at the distance of 18 inches greater than on the other side from the track. Locating switch stand shall be placed so that the center line of the locker bar is 30 inches from the gauge of the sock rail. Maintenance. Switch and switch stands throwing rods must be examined frequently. All broken, damaged, missing parts shall be renewed immediately. Regular inspection should be made with the required CE 40, but it is necessary to take corrective action at once. Worn switch latches must be placed before the wearing is sufficient to permit the switch to be opened without removing the padlock. Switch point indicators shall be kept clean. Uniform brightness and visibility targets discs which are not enabled shall be pinned as necessary. Secondary tracks and yard tracks and sidings. No curve shall be constructed realigned with the curve gravature than the adopted limit of the permanently upon the district located. Every operative unit should be taken to the less of the curvature of an existing track. In no case will the tracks constructed with radius less than 176 feet at 33-degree curve. The unconnected end of the secondary yard track must be curved away from the main track of which is adjacent. Whether the danger of injuring the person or property of the car should be run at the end of the track of the bumping post of the wheel stop according approved by the provided with the wheel stop should not be for the tracks and passenger equipment. Alright, derails.